From the top teams in the competition at the moment, unfortunately, there are some teams that are struggling, and one of those teams is the Canterbury Bulldogs. So have we got any information on the Dogs at the moment? Do we know why they're travelling so poorly?
Well, I think it's a myriad of reasons, Prath. I don't think it's as simple as one thing. I mean, obviously injuries have been huge for them. I think they had a ridiculous amount of players out at the weekend. I think they only had 16 or 17 of their top 30 players to choose from. I think that's been an issue for them. I think Cameron Ciraldo's found that, and he's spoken about this in press conferences, the culture within the place, the winning sort of ethos isn't there. The desire to work hard. You know, talk to Cameron, it's about you want to win every moment and every training session, you know, every week, but that's not necessarily there amongst that playing group. And that reflects on the football field. When you're not trying to win at training all the time, you're not going to always try to win on the footy field.
Well, is the recruitment bad then?
Well,
because if you look at Redcliffe, right, you'd say that they'd be in a similar spot.
Well,
they're competing.
I think, and I spoke to Cameron today, I think that it's a little culture problem, and it's not on the football field. But Cameron's come from a Penrith system where they are as professional as you can get in prep, and that that they turn up, they arrive early, they finish late, and his head of sports science, Travis Toomer, comes from the Sydney Roosters.
He's great.
And South, and they won 3 comps there with Travis. So what Cameron's trying to do is lift Canterbury to how the Roosters did it, how Penrith do it, and most of the players are going along with it, but there's some struggling, they just can't cope with it. And
why can't they cope with it?
They're just not used to that sort of intensity and those sort of demands, and this is why Gus and Cameron...
How do you know they're not? Are you hearing that?
Yeah, I'm hearing that, yeah. Look, I know...
Maybe that's why where they are.
Well, that's reflective of where they are on the field, isn't it?
That noise was coming out of Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's going, oh, Kevy's off. But no, you have to weed those players out. The ones that they're like whinge. Braith, the Dogs have to be the Bulldogs, mate. When I played against the Dogs, they were hard-nosed. Billy Johnson trained them, and you knew that they could play for 80 minutes, 90 minutes, 100 minutes. The Bulldogs, they never gave up.
Well, that's what he's going to do. That's what he's in the process of doing.
You know what?
But
you're right. If a player, because that's what you want. And I remember the first session I ever went to, Gary Carden, and I was from South, and I got there, and the objective with every new player was to break them. And he said, if you walk away and you come back tomorrow, you're a Bulldog. If you are broken and you don't want to train hard and you don't like the way that you felt and you don't like being broken, don't come back. And that was the ethos from the beginning. That was Billy Johnson down the Carden.
That's a great...
That's teaching you values and...
In life.
In life.
It's interesting. I think if Cameron Ciraldo would pay attention to a couple of complaining players, if it was an Addo Carr, a Burton, a Reid Marnie or a Billy Kickout, but they've all come from really strong systems. They like what he is trying to do, bring in the Roosters and bring in Penrith. But some of the boys just can't cope with it. And
they got to go.
These are the ones who,
They got to go.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Yeah. It's like, what do you want this team to look like? What is a Bulldogs player? And the sad thing at the moment for Bulldogs fans and even ex-players, whatever, you watch it and at the start of the year you could see them rebuilding and you could see improvement, you could see consistency. Their defence was getting better, their performances were getting better, and now all of a sudden they're falling off a cliff. They're averaging 44, 45 points against them the last 6 weeks.
So it's the worst in 20 years or something? Or?
The past 5 games, yeah. Worst
There's in no excuse for that, is there? Like, is there any excuse for that? There really isn't. Well, injuries or not, that's diabolical.
And that's all about attitude. With defence, they always talk defence about attitude, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what you pack, is your attitude. Yeah, I mean, like you heard Craig Bellamy talk about the Knights, and he said they wanted it more. And that's what players pack in their own kit bag. And, you know, they did get pulled out, and look, Cleary does pull you out of structure, and, yeah, they got some great players, but there were some soft tries there as well.
There are some players leaving. There's players coming in. We know that. Crichton, Kickout coming. They're trying to recruit some more, but they've got some leaving. For Taylor Mariner, I think Sutton as well. Is there any more? What's the situation with those guys?
Look, I think those guys have been... Canterbury have let it be known to both of them that they are free to look at other options. They both have contracts though, so unless they can find clubs that will match their offers, Canterbury are going to have to do something to get rid of them.
He's the club captain.
I'm not sure Sutton's as clear-cut as that. I think there was a conversation a while ago and they haven't had a conversation since. So, but for Tula Marin, yes, he's the club captain.
But Reedy, where is this club going? 3 weeks ago, Phil Gould said, we're going to build from within. We are going to do pathways. Who's the good centre they let go to Dolphins? Averillo's gone. They bring in Sexton from outside. Not a good, a handy halfback. They bring in Liam Knight today from South. They bring in Bronson Cherry. They're bidding for Tino. They're bidding for Payne Haas.
The one thing I would say, Buzz, in their defence is pathways takes time. You can't click your fingers, wave a magic wand.
You've got 2 pathway kids who come off contract this year, local juniors,
Alan
Milpera
they're in talks with, and Averillo got offered a big deal, right? So I agree with you, they probably should have kept Averillo and maybe let Alamotti go. But there was no use keeping them both because Cherry's coming next year to play in the centres and they expect him to be one of their centres.
Hasn't played for 4 years,
I understand that, but apparently he's an amazing mix.
It's not building from within.
But Buzz, pathways, as I said, it takes time.
These are developed local juniors.
But they are working on their pathways and they've had great results in the lower grades this year. So they are making progress there. But in the short term, if you want to win, they need to bring players in. And that's why they're getting linked with the guys like Luai, Haas, Tino, those guys, because they will help you win now. And people at Canterbury want to see success now. And if you rely purely on pathways, it's going to that will take time. And eventually,
Liam Knight, Blake Taff, these players will help them win?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, there's another aspect to it, Braith, right? Because that footy clubs...
I'm just asking. I'm not saying they won't.
At least they come from a winning system. Yeah. And they don't have a lot of blokes from winning systems at the moment. And they come in and they will help in the short term. I think Blake Taft's a good footballer.
Reid Marnie come from a winning system.
He did.
Josh Adokar come from a winning system.
Yeah, and you ask people at that club and they're driving standards, Gordy, and eventually that will pay off, but it takes time.
This is the worry. They're driving the standards, but the standards aren't there. No. This is the worry. The fact that it's been identified over the last few years, right? We all know it. And heading in, they've made big purchases. Where are the standards there, and why aren't they being upheld?
Well, and that's exactly why people are going out. That's why people are leaving. Because they've decided there's some blokes...
It's like all the good clubs, it's next man up.
But they're not a good club, Braith. They've been a good club for 6 years. They're not a good club.
Yeah. When will they be a good club? They're trying pretty hard.
I don't think even next year they're going to be much better.
I want them to be a good club. I want them to win a comp. But it's hard because...
Rugby league's better when the Dogs are going well.
But I
think even next year it's too soon for them. I think they're 2 years away.
Yeah, but
at the very earliest.
Yeah. Taff and Knight are handy recruits. There's no doubt about that. But they've got to have another big fish they're trying to land. Is there a 7? Do we know any mail about... They were going for Hunt there for a while. Is there anyone else on the radar?
Well, I would have thought they got Crichton at fullback. Now they got Reid Marnie. They got Burton at 5'8". They need a halfback more than Payne Haas. Problem is...
You know who I'd be going after, Buzz?
Who?
Tommy Dearden.
He's not available next year.
He's got one more year left in his deal. The Cowboys have offered him a 3-year extension.
Luai could probably work. Luai or Dearden.
Play one side and Burton on the other.
They're the two elite sort of 6-7s coming off within the next 12 months. The Cowboys have tabled a 3-year extension to Tommy Dearden. As far as I know, as yet he hasn't taken it. And, if he goes to November 1, I'd be having a red-hot go at him.
He'd be a great buy. Gordy, I want to ask you, if you're the Bulldogs, would you rather right now, do you think they need a halfback more or a front row more?
Halfback. They got enough. They got enough in their forward pack, to go forward. I don't know what's happening with Pangai Jr. He's promised you the world and gave everybody an atlas at every club he's gone to. So he hasn't quite found his mojo. And then some of their Sorry?
I'm just wondering what money Pangai Jr.'s on.
750 or
a lot of
money.
money.
But I think a halfback I believe that a really good halfback can turn a poor set into a good set, and they can help you out. It's sort of yin and yang with both, but a halfback's very important.
Do you think you talk about Pangai, Gordy? And I know he's flashed a lot and not really lived it. But do you think part of that is he's been at clubs in the past where he hasn't potentially been, particularly in recent years, he was at the Broncos when they struggled, that's surrounded by the right players, maybe that can bring out the best. If they get the right people at that club.
No, he plays for highlights. He plays for the offload. He plays for the big play instead of if the penny drops with Payne Haas and playing the ball quick, and if he got a buzz out of that, he'd be one of the best players in the game. You see Lenu come off the bench, he knocks him over like 10-pin bowl and plays the ball quick. That is the biggest play in the game, and we can sing his praise. If Pangai comes off the back fence, gets between two guys, uses his strength and his ability to get between two and play the ball quick, that is so valuable in the modern game. But he doesn't see that as a commodity. He doesn't see that. he wants the big offload and the step and all that play, which doesn't come off.
I think he's the most frustrating player to watch because of the potential that he has.
So much
and the
potential.
player that he could be, but just to not see him reach it. You know, and it hurts the clubs that he's at because he costs so much.
Yeah. If I said, can you get up and play the ball quick, and every time you play the ball quick, we're going to pat you on the back, play the ball quick 15 times, you get man of the match. Or have 10 runs and 5 offloads, he'd take the 10 runs and 5 offloads.
Yeah. Often if you think run first, the offload comes
Second.
after.
Yeah,